Well, it's 8 o'clock according to my watch, so it must be Thursday night net time on GB3IW. This is G7 EPE, operator name Dave, acting net controller for this evening's Thursday night net, I say on GB3IW. The net is open to anybody licensed to use the 70cm band and has access to GB3IW, which is available via RF. Its sister repeater is also linked, that's M0RQD in Sandown. We're also available via Echolink and via its Allstar node. So the net's open to anybody licensed to use the band and runs for approximately 1 hour, with all comments directed through this station. So, without further ado, let's see who's out there and who wants to join the net this evening. This is G7 EPE standing by for your call.
M0RQD, good evening.
M0RQD. Mr. Repeater Keeper himself, Steve. Trust you well, mate. Good to have you on. Thank you very much for being number one in my log. Anybody else out there wishing to join the net? This is G7 EPE standing by.
2E0 Steve and Dave, and Steve and everybody.
Okay, we had two there, a little bit of a train crash. 2E0WGK. Bill, I think you just pipped G4DOT, Mark, to the shout there. So good evening, Mark, as well. So Bill, obviously you're number 2 in my log. Mark, you're number 3. Anybody else out there wishing to join? This is G7 EPE standing by.
2E0 OGR.
And that was 2 Echo 0 Oscar Golf Romeo, aka Martin. Right, got you there, Martin. Number 4 in my log, and a very good evening to you. Anybody else out there wishing to join G7 EPE standing by?
KF4MCG, Bill and Corona.
KF4MCG. Bill in Corona, as he says. And for those who don't know, Corona is in Southern California. Okay, good to have you on, Bill. Thank you very much. Sounding most excellent via the All-Star node there. So good to have you on. Very good afternoon to you. And you are number 5 in my log. Anybody else out there wishing to join? This is G7 EPE standing by.
G4ANW.
G4ANW. Terry, good to have you on. Number 6 in the log. Trust you well. Hope you've had a good week, mate. And yes, thanks very much for calling in. Anybody else out there wishing to join? G7 EPE standing by. M0XPJ. Good to have you out there, Julian. Let me just get you in the log. Hopefully the box is coming through to you a little clearer now. Now the hard work's been done with the vertical antenna there. Be interesting to get a signal report from you, see if it has improved down there in Selsey. So all good stuff. Right, anybody else out there wishing to join? This is G7 EPE standing by.
G5KUE, good evening, Dave, in Littlehampton, joining via his All-Star link, which hopefully will hold together tonight. Back to you.
G5KUE, G7 EPE returning in the group, and yeah, the All-Star node you've screwed together there, Ian, sounds very good, working very nicely there, and good to have you on. You are number 8 in my log. Okay, let's put a few more calls out, see who else is out there, and then we'll start with the first round of the Thursday night net. Anybody else out there wishing to join? This is G7 EPE standing by.
F4WDY.
Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Delta Yankee. Got you there, Graham. all the way from France, again via Allstar, sounding very good. Very good evening to you. Thank you very much for calling in. You are number 9 in my log. Gosh, we're increasing in numbers rapidly. Okay, anybody else out there who'd like to join the net? This is G7EPE standing by for your call.
Kilo Oscar 4, Delta X-Ray Quebec, KO4DXQ, Bob in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee.
KO4DXQ, Bob. I could see you trying to get in via the via Echolink, Bob, and you finally made it. So all good stuff. And again, actually excellent audio. So good to have you on. Very good afternoon to you down there in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee. Nice to have you on board. Thank you very much. You're number 10 in the log. Right, one more quick shout, just in case there is anybody else out there who we've missed, and then we'll get going on the net. If there is anybody else out there, this is probably your last chance before we start the first round of the net. So G7EPE, standing by. Right, nothing heard. Gosh, 10 to start with 11 including my goodly self. So let's just rattle through the list top to bottom and see if there is anybody out there who wants any assistance, help, got a topic they'd like to discuss this evening, and just generally what you've been up to and how you're doing. So let's go back to the top of the shop, and number 1 in the hit parade, Stevie Steve, M0RQD G7EPE.
G7EPE M0RQD returning. Good evening, Dave. Good evening, everybody. I don't know. I haven't actually been doing a lot of radio. I've been tidying up my office. As you'll soon be able to see, my office is considerably tidier. So I've been actually doing that, and not really any radio. But I do hope to get some done this weekend. I'm not at the club tomorrow. We've got the radio Christmas party, and it's the Grand Prix. So this weekend, so I'm probably not going anywhere particularly, and hopefully I'll get a bit of radio done in the afternoon, which will be nice. Other than that, not a lot really. Very boringly, I'll hand it back to you. G7EPE M0RQD returning.
M0RQD G7EPE in the Thursday night net. And okay, Steve, no worries. The shack is looking very nice with the extra screens and stuff. So, I know you've been spending money on things like microphones and headphones for your other activities. So, all good stuff. And don't feel bad about not having too much radio play to talk about. But okay on the weekend. Yes, it's I think it's the last. Is it the last Grand Prix this weekend? I think it is it? Yeah? Can't remember. I think it is anyway. So enjoy. I'm not as much of a Formula 1 fan as I used to be. I just find it a little bit boring these days. But the station manager still follows it quite closely. And that reminds me, I forgot to mention that we do a Facebook Live broadcast during the Thursday night net. So if you want to see what happens here at EPE Towers, and indeed listen to the net, head over to the GB3IW Isle of Wight Repeater Facebook page, and you'll find us there. I think we've got a couple of guys watching at the moment. You can even leave a comment if you want to say hello. Okay, thanks very much, Steve. Let's go round to Bill. Bill, trust you're well, and good to hear you all the way down there in Gosport. 2E0 WGK G7EPE.
GB3IW.
G7EPE 2E0WGK. Yeah, very good evening to you, Dave. Good evening, everybody. Really nice to be on board the net tonight. Not a lot to report on the radio front. In fact, I don't think I've turned the radio on since last Sunday. And even then, I only stayed on for one set of overs because, to be quite honest, I was a bit tired and just wanted to go to sleep. And I didn't realise it was Formula 1 day over the weekend, mainly because I'm ashamed to confess. Am I ashamed to confess? I have absolutely no interest in it at all. I can remember my sister, my eldest sister and her husband used to take me to Speedway when I was very, very young, and even then it was cold, wet, noisy, and smelly, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I would imagine that actually attending a Formula One event would be similar, perhaps not quite as cold, but anyway, yeah. Sorry about that. Bit of a killjoy, I know, but there you go. Anyway, with that, Dave, I shall pass it back to you. G7 EPE 2E0WGK.
2E0WGK G7 EPE. Well, don't worry about that, Bill. You're not really a killjoy, are you? It's each to their own. And so I used to follow Formula One quite avidly for a good few years, but then I just found it a little bit processional, and got to the stage where I found I was sort of falling asleep after the first 5 or 6 laps, and then waking up probably just 2 laps before the end, which probably isn't a bad way of watching Formula One most of the time, but. Yeah, I think we're down to the wire on this championship-wise, so that's probably why it's sparked a bit of interest this year. But and obviously good to have you out there, Bill, and nice to hear your voice. And okay, I'm not turning the radio on since Sunday. Well, don't feel bad about that. I know you have plenty of other hobbies and interests to keep yourself well busy other than the radio. Right, with that, let's go round to Mark. Oh, before I do, a very good evening to David up there in Sheffield, M7GAU. Who's watching on Facebook, and yeah, round to you, Mark. G4DOT, G7EPE.
G7EPE, G4DOT. Yeah, cold, wet, noisy, and smelly. Yeah, that sounds like the last time I watched Formula One. Can't really blame it on the sport though. I was watching it on the telly, so less said about that the better. What I've been doing this week is making very badly cut holes in pieces of aluminium that will make Roger cry. But I have to fit a Raspberry Pi screen to a big 19-inch rack for my DATV transmitter project. And I've never been very good at making holes in things. So fortunately, it's hidden, the hole itself is hidden behind the screen. So unless I take it to pieces, nobody will know. That's what I've been up to. No real radio, but I'm sure I'll find some to do. Anyway, I'll pass back now. G4DOT passing back to G7EP and the net.
G4DOT, G7EPE. Yeah, okay, Mark. Yeah, making holes in things. Not my favourite thing. In fact, I had need to put a couple of panel switches in a small plastic project box today at work for something we were doing, and I've had 2 or 3 really busy days where everybody's wanted a piece of me with meetings and all sorts of stuff, and I thought I'm going to have struggle to get this job done today, and it included putting this box together to control something, and it was just two panel switches which were square, and I must admit I did give it to somebody else to do. I said, "What are you doing this morning?" So I've got this and this. I said, "Okay, any chance you could help me out and put some holes in this lid of this plastic box, this project box, to fit these 2 switches, because I'm absolutely tied up. I've got suppliers on coming in. I've got other customer things going on." And yeah, he did it. The chap did a good job. Fitted the switches to the lid. So then I basically had to just drill a couple of holes to get a DC socket and some harness cable through, and then just wire it all up. So it was all done and dusted by about 2:30 this afternoon. So it was all good stuff. But yeah, making holes, not my forte either. Although I did enjoy putting D-types in panels years ago, because the company had a selection of special punches for putting D-types in. They work really well. Right, well, good to have you on, Mark. And yeah, I'm not going to ask about the wet and smelly bit watching Formula One. Martin, round to you. 2E0 OGR. He's finished his ice cream as well. 2E0 OGR G7 EPE, and he's managed not to get it all over himself.
G7EP 20 jump, yeah, successfully demolished. Very nice it was too. What the wife was moaning about was that while she was away looking after the daughter, I'd managed to demolish most of it anyway. So there wasn't much left in the box. There we go. Yes, I can remember going to Speedway as a child down in Poole.
big as it needed to be for the programme. But the top half was designed to act as a pair of goggles to stop the cinders flying off the track and hit me on the corners. And so I've got fond memories of that as I was younger. I always used to enjoy that. I think it was a Wednesday night we went down there. But yeah, like you, Dave, I'm a little bit sort of, I feel it's all a bit processional. And I did try watching some of the, the Formula E as well. And just the novelty of the fact that they're electric cars was interesting for a bit, but I thought that was all a bit mad. I quite like watching the motorbike racing. Not for the skill involved, but in case there's a crash, that's always interesting. So there we go. I've been working all week. Boss man's away, so I'm in charge, and so we'll see. I'll go all week and probably to about Tuesday next week. And it's all good. And I'm out tomorrow night for the choirs Christmas dinner. All of our DJs and tucks on, and we are. The chairman said we are the entertainment, and so there's no end of things being done, I believe, tomorrow night. So it sounds quite an interesting night. All teetotal, of course, because number one, I'm on pills. I can't take alcohol, and number two, I'll be driving. There we go. Such is life. Anyway, thanks, Dave, for running it, and I'll hand it back round to you. G7EPE20GR.
2E0GR G7EP returning on the Thursday night net via GB3IW. Yep, okay, Martin, coming through very loud and clear on that Allstar node, so all good stuff. And okay, on you being boss for the week. And sounds like you got away with almost finishing off the ice cream by the skin of your teeth there. I'm guessing you just got it right, so you just left a little bit in the bottom. It wasn't quite finished. And best of luck with the evening with the choir and the entertainment tomorrow. But bad planning on having to drive. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to drink because of the pills you're on, I guess, for the shoulder problem. But I guess it doesn't really matter then if you're driving. But anyway, enjoy, mate. Have a good one. Right, okay, thank you very much, Martin. Let's go round to Bill. KF4MCG, G7EPE. Round to you.
G7EPE, KF4MCG. Well, Merry Christmas to everybody out on the island. It's good to hear you all. Thanks for running the net tonight, Dave. And never got into Formula One much, although I did go to the Speedway in Indianapolis. My dad used to be a security guard there, and he would take me occasionally to the track, and I got to meet a lot of the drivers and actually sit in one of the race cars and that kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun. I remember that was a great thing for being a kid and being able to do that. So I've always had a partiality for the Indianapolis 500. But as far as Formula One, it's a bunch of rich European guys driving around causing problems. Let's see, haven't played much radio. Station managers had me busy. We're painting, putting in flooring, and now the Santa Anas were up a little yesterday, and it blew part of my backyard fence over. So I've got a contractor out here. We're digging up the fence. We're putting in a block wall cement fence between the properties, so we shouldn't have to worry about that anymore. So once again, we've got another project going on here at the castle. So everything is crazy. As far as playing radio this month, well, I hope to leave the All-Star note up and hear a lot of people talking from the Isle of Wight. Look forward to some conversations this month. Back over to you, Dave. G7EPE KF4MCG.
KF4MCG G7EP returning Thursday night net, and okay on the projects, ongoing projects there on Castle MCG. It sounds like it's non-stop there, Bill, but okay on the new wall. And if you've got an All-Star node, leave it on and connect it to IW and see what happens. But there's quite a few guys have now equipped themselves with All-Star nodes, so it's definitely spreading here. And okay on the speedway, and actually the Formula One being processional. I didn't comment on that one. Martin said that, but and the Formula E, yeah, I kind of enjoyed that more actually. Formula E when it was the first gen cars and they had to change the battery or change cars, didn't they? So they changed the batteries because the batteries weren't great. They didn't have much range, so halfway through the race they had to pull in and change to the new car. But I think my tarmac sport of choice if I'm watching anything is probably British touring cars, or not just the touring cars, but actually probably more interesting some of the supporting races, the youngsters in the minis and things. They and the Ginetta Junior. If you ever get a chance to watch that, those I mean the young spotty kids coming jumping out of the cars. They look about 10 years old, and they're actually going for it. You know, four abreast into a corner. And it's like they don't give a monkeys. They're just trying to get to the front. And yeah, there's some really good racing there. But there you go. Right, all good, Bill. Thank you very much. Sounding loud and proud there from Southern California. So with that, let's go back to the Isle of Wight and Terry. How you doing, mate? G4ANW, G7EPE in the group.
Yeah, G7EPE in the group, G4ANW. Okay there, Dave, and good evening to everyone on the net this evening. And yeah, Formula One, not something I've really ever followed, to be absolutely honest. Although when we were down in Guernsey last August, there was quite a good sort of banger racing going on the beach, where they'd sort of screened off a bit of the beach, and that was quite exciting actually, and luckily very easy just to sort of sit there and watch, and that was good. There was some pretty hairy driving going on, it must be said. As far as IW is concerned, it's I think Steve you've put the collinear up. Well, it's certainly a good 5 and 9 signal here now. It was always sort of 5 and 7 to 8. Pretty consistently, but now a steady 5 and 9, so that's pretty good. And as far as radio is concerned, the only thing, apart from listening around, the only thing I've actually done since we last spoke was put some more earth rods in around the ATAS antenna, and that has actually done a great job in bringing down the reflected energy on pretty well all the HF bands now, and obviously helps with the inverted L as well. So that's worked out pretty well. So there we are. But that was the radio work for this week, really. As I say, apart from listening around. So back to you there, Dave. G7EPE and the group G4ANW.
G4ANW, G7EPE. Yep. And coming through very nicely, Terry. So the antenna's working in both directions there. It's gone up a smidgen here. It's gone up probably about half an S point, maybe a little bit more, 3/4 of an S point. I was very fortunate, and I think one of the 4 stack elements was pointing pretty much in my direction anyway. So it was always an S9 plus 10 on a good day. It's now just almost nudging the plus 20. So yeah, definitely working. And okay, on the racing on the beach, that sounds interesting. I can imagine that's quite fun. I might have to look that up. Sounds like maybe it's a bit of a series they do over there. And good news on the ground rods and the ATAS. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mantra if you own an ATAS 120A. Or well, not even the 120A. I guess the 120 was the predecessor, wasn't it? There is a 110, I think, as well. Yeah, ground it, and then ground it some more. And if you think you've grounded it enough, put some more ground in, and yeah, you'll get it working very nicely. Which sounds exactly what you've done there, Terry. So good news. Right, well, thank you very much. Let's go round to Julian. I'm very interested to see if what the signal's like on from IW now, Julian. If it's an improvement, we've had a few. I think Steve's had a few shouts from that neck of the woods, and it seems generally to be better. So let's see what you've got to say. And you were coming through quite nicely. M0XPJ G7EPE in the group.
G7EPE in the group. M0XPJ. Well, I'm getting
but it's all lovely and crystal clear again. So that's brilliant. So I can hear really, really nicely. So yeah, thanks ever so much for doing that, guys. Really appreciate it. And sorry I didn't get around to giving a signal report. I've had a really super busy week. I've literally just come back. I've been away in Newbury. It's our head office on a 3-day course regarding scientific, very high-end thermal imaging cameras from FLIR, and yeah, really, really interesting technology. So yeah, it's a real black art, this thermography. I've been involved in imaging for the last sort of 30, 40 years, and this is really, really specialist, really interesting stuff. So yeah, and staying over at the lodge at Newbury Racecourse. So had one of the best butter chickens as well this week I've ever had. So that was rather good fun. So that's my news. So back to you, G7EP in the group from M0XPJ.
M0XPJ, G7EPE returning in the group, and well, good stuff. That sounds like it certainly worked wonders at your neck of the woods and the new antenna there, Julian. And say the signal in from you is a lot cleaner as well. It used to come in okay, but there was a bit of background, a bit of path noise. But no, you're very clear now, just as clear as everybody else we've had on tonight. So fantastic stuff. And okay, on the thermal imaging, that sounds interesting. I was I've watched a few YouTube videos recently, and the on fixing things, anything really, from games consoles to humidifiers and things. And it's interesting to see there's a lot of people now using FLIR cameras to spot hot spots on the circuit board. When there's nothing obvious causing a problem, they get the FLIR camera out and try and track down if there's anything getting particularly hot, and it gives them a pointer as to where they're going, especially if they haven't got a circuit diagram and stuff. So, but it sounds like you're dealing with something a little bit further up the scale from that, but very interesting as well. All good stuff. Right, and the butter chicken. Yeah, you just made me feel really hungry actually mentioning the butter chicken. Yeah, I haven't had an outsourced curry for a long time, so maybe a treat for this weekend perhaps. Okay, good to hear there, Julian, and thank you very much for calling in this evening. Let's go round to Ian, see if the Allstar node's still holding up. G5 KUE, G7 EPE.
EPE from G5 KUE in Thursday Night Net. Thanks for calling in, Dave, and hi to everybody who's joined us on all platforms. Yeah, the All-Star link node clapped out halfway through Terry's QSO, so I've had to restart. Hopefully it's all okay. Radio-wise, I haven't been doing a great deal. I've been configuring my CCTV system, which I've installed. I went down obviously Saturday for the open day at the Emporium. Bought some plug flex. I need the length of that, and a new radio. I've got the FTM 510. Been playing around with that this week, so that's a great little radio, and the noise cancelling on it is fantastic. And posted on the group, built a hand clock with the Raspberry Pi, which was left over from the All-Star Link node build. I had to have that to get the programs written for the USB stick, so I could stick it in the Dell Wise. So yeah, it's all been productive. Not so much on the microphone, but certainly radio orientated. On that, Dave, I'll hand that back to you. G7EPE from G5 KUE.
G5 KUE, G7 EPE. Well, the All-Star node's sounding good, Ian. It's a shame it dropped out. There's obviously a little glitch there. I'm sure you'll get to the bottom of that, but it's working fine now. Your audio's very clean and very, very loud. So that bit of it's working. Maybe something's causing it occasionally to drop out, but yeah, okay. On the ham clock, that looked very good actually in the picture you shared. So glad you got found a use for the spare Raspberry Pi. So I'm still in two minds what to do with. I really do like my ham clock that I've got running on the PC, but I do have to, and it's not a big thing, but I do have to launch it every time and start the emulator and put a password in. And it's not a big thing to do, but it would be great to have it sort of running all full time and just have to turn a monitor on. But I'd have to dedicate one of the two monitors. I think what I'm going to have to do is follow Steve's footsteps and look to get another big monitor, and then I can have dual the two smaller monitors. I've got one on top of the other, and use one 100% for a ham clock, and do what you've done and get a Pi running it or something. But yeah, perfect stuff. Right, thank you very much, Ian. Let's move on. I've noticed it's 8:30 already. We've not finished the first round, so we better go round to Graham. How's things doing down there in France, Graham? Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Delta Yankee, Golf 7, Echo Papa Echo.
VB3 7 Echo Papa Echo, Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Delta Yankee. Yeah, it's getting close to Christmas now, so there's quizzes, people organising club lunches. I've got 2 bridge lunches over the next fortnight, and a quiz on Saturday. So yeah, it's quite busy. Not much else really. I've not been doing radio work, but I've been trying to clean up security on my PCs and phones. Trying to cut out some of the Google linking. So I'll see what I can do with that. But not much else to add, so I'll pass it back to you. G7EPE F4WDY.
Foxtrot 4, Whiskey Delta Yankee, Golf 7 Echo, Papa Echo, Thursday night. Yeah. Okay, Graham. Well, it sounds like your social calendar's starting to get busy then with all these Christmas events with the various clubs and things you belong to. So yeah, I guess it's that time of year. Yeah, I'm not sure. I actually think me and the station manager have got much to go to this year. I've unfortunately missed the Isle of Wight Radio Society Christmas lunch. But I'm sure we'll have a few things that we get asked to go to, and I'm not. My company's obviously quite a long way away. We used to do the odd Christmas do, but we didn't end up paying for a hotel to stay overnight. But that's starting to get a bit expensive now. Things are, hotels and the Christmas lunch and whatever, or the Christmas meal in the evening. It's all where it used to be a relatively cheap thing to do. It's now getting a little bit expensive, and yeah. I think that's probably a thing of the past now for us. But glad you're having a good time there, Graham, and okay on not much radio play. I noticed yesterday there was a huge belt of activity aurorally wise here, early evening, early into mid evening on the south coast. Unfortunately, well, I say across the UK, would have been able to see some aurora if it hadn't been pitch black. Well, not pitch black, but covered in cloud. And raining, so we missed that. But I'm sure there looks like there's some good activity. People managed to get some nice photos further up country. But it looks like it's all gone fairly quiet again now. And the bands, I think they've again maybe that's the atmospheric activity is causing problems. But 20 metres is the only band with anything going on, and that's pretty quiet at the moment. So I wouldn't advise anybody bothers with the HF right at the moment. Okay, good to have you on, Graham. Thank you very much. And the last person in my list is Bob down there in Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. So let's get Bob in. Very good afternoon to you, mate. Trust you well. And what have you been up to? KO4 DXQ, Golf 7 Echo Papa Echo.
KO4 DXQ. Good evening, everyone, and good afternoon, Bill. Bill, you look a little cold out there. You have that winter sweater on. Well, it's currently 7 degrees Celsius, up from -2. And I have a Chattanooga Radio Club meeting tonight, and it's supposed to rain tonight. Probably on the way home, maybe, or on the way there, or on the way home. So it's going to be cold and rainy. As far as the racing there, I don't watch Formula, never did. At one time, I used to watch stock car racing, NASCAR, and my work got in the way, and I just didn't watch it. And then I turned it on a couple years ago, and it's completely changed. The cars are just totally different now. What a difference. It used to be like U.S. cars, and now it's Toyota and Honda and some other cars there. Really different. KO4DSQ, back to G7 EPE Internet.
KO4DXQ G7 EPE returning Thursday night net GB3IW. Yeah, well, okay on the temperatures there, Bob. Well, I've got 4 degrees here in my back garden at the moment. We had a lot of rain this morning. We've had about half an inch, 12.7 millimetres of rain, so about half an inch of rain. It was a pretty horrible drive in this morning into work, and the temperatures have dropped now. So I think we're in for a bit of a frosty night, perhaps. Yeah, obviously you've had similar and a bit colder by the sounds of it. And okay on not really following the Formula One, but the NASCAR. And yeah, we get some of that broadcast over here. And if you want American muscle to watch, I can recommend the Australian V8 Championship, because that's Mustangs and General Motors, although they're called Holdens. Over there, but it's GM cars and they're all V8s, and yeah, that's quite fun to watch. We get that over here. So the Australian V8 Championship, Supercar Championship, is worth watching. That can be quite entertaining. Right, okay, good to have you on, Bob. Thank you very much for taking your time out this afternoon or in your afternoon to join us. Let me just put a quick call out, see if there's anybody else out there who wishes to join, and then we'll start with a bit of a topic. Yeah, gosh, time's flying. So if there is anybody else out there, make it quick. This is G7 EPE standing by. No, nothing heard, unfortunately. No problem. And I think Steve's just left us briefly. I can't see him on the Zoom. I noticed he put a quick shout saying he had to disappear, but he would be right back. So I think we'll give Steve an opportunity, just in case he's within earshot of the radio and just hasn't got his Zoom call up and running. But I thought, well, I've just had to just got the renewal documents through for my pet insurance, and also the insurance to fly my drone, and I was thinking amateur radio insurance. So, does anybody have it? Where did you get it from? Would you bother with it? Are you just leaving it to your contents insurance or your vehicle insurance if you've got one in the car? What about antennas, or when you're at portable operation? Something I've not really given thought to myself. Obviously, I assume that my equipment's covered by the contents insurance, but there again, some radios are worth quite a lot of money and probably need to be a named item. So I wonder if anybody's done that. So, how's that for a topic? Let's see. Steve, if you're out there, if you want to come in, you can do. So let's give Steve a chance. If not, we'll drop round to Bill quite quickly. M0RQD G7EPE. Nope, sounds like he's not back yet. So with that, round to you, Bill. 2E0WGK G7EPE. Insurance, Bill.
G7EPE 2E0WGK. Okay, Dave, I have to confess I hadn't really given it much thought. I'm figuring that if it's home, as we are now, it would be the house insurance it would cover. And if I'm mobile, it would be the car insurance. And possibly there's some things that even when you're mobile are still covered by the house insurance, aren't they? And of course, if I'm out walking at all, I wouldn't usually have very expensive kit with me. Yeah, the most expensive thing would be my FT70 really. But hadn't really given it any thought, to be quite honest. I have to ask the question: is such distinct insurance even available. That's just something that I've not investigated at all. Pass it back to you, Dave. G7EPE 2E0WGK.
2E0WGK G7EPE. Yeah, I think you'll probably like a lot of us, Bill, actually. Maybe not even giving it a second thought. I know if clubs are if a group or club is a member of the RSGB, I think there's some insurance that covers the club, which is a little bit like the British Radio Car Association, which I used to be obviously a member of. That used to give you some insurance as well, some cover. And I used to at one point insure my camera equipment. I don't now because it's quite old, and I don't go out with all of it and take it that as many places as I used to. But I used to insure. Camera insurance is quite a thing and quite well known. But radio cover for ham radio equipment, I don't know, if you're thinking of taking your FTX1 or your IC705, that's £1,000 worth of radio. But if you're taking that out in the wilds and sitting on a park bench, yeah, interesting. Anyway, but I think you're not on probably the same as a lot of us there, Bill. Not really giving it a second thought. So let's see if Mark's done anything with insurance at all. G4 DOT G7EPE.
G7EPE G4 DOT. No, like everybody else, I completely forgot about it. I don't have that much equipment sitting in a pile of rubble. But I've got my 710, but that's probably covered by the house insurance. I've got the handy I'm talking on. Again, not fantastically valuable. It's probably something that you can get insurance for pretty much anything. You hear about people insuring their legs and their teeth. So if they can do that, they can insure their radio. But no, I've got drone insurance. Not that I actually fly the drone that much, but I suppose I should. That's about all I've got. And in terms of other equipment to insure, not a lot. So I'll pass it back and see if anybody else has got any fantastic insurance on strange things. G4 DOT, I think that's G7EPE and the net.
G4 DOT, G7EPE in the group. Yeah, okay, Mark. So you're in the same bucket as Bill and myself, really. But I know some houses that hold insurances, they kind of insist that you, if you've got items in the house over a certain value, they have to be named separately on the policy. And the value will change obviously from policy to policy and insurer to insurer, where that limit is. But I know my particular insurance company, I think it's anything over £1,000. They suggest that should be named. And obviously, I think we all know what insurance companies are like. They'll try and wiggle out paying for anything if they can normally. So might be worth having a quick read of that household insurance document and just make sure your equipment is covered in some way, shape, or form. And you're quite right. You can get pretty much insurance for anything. But I did have a quick Google for amateur radio insurance, and I couldn't really find any dedicated companies out there offering it on my quick search. But it was only a very quick Google. So let's see if Martin's got anything to say on the subject. 2E0 OGR G7EPE.
G7EPE 2E0 OGR. Funny enough, I've got my 101 as a named item on my insurance, but nothing else. Because that cost me quite a lot of money. I thought I was going to, when I come round to renew the insurance, I named that item. But funny enough, it didn't actually seem to cost that much to do the insurance. It didn't make too much of a difference to it. But I think that might be something to do with the fact that we've been with the same insurance for quite a little while, and we've not made a claim on it, so that's good. And just as an aside, the insurance I've got for my home and contents is one of these ones that if you've got like a pair of sofas or something like that, if one gets completely trashed for some reason or other and it was a pair, they'll actually replace the pair, so that you've got, you don't end up with odd bits of furniture in the place. And I can't remember where I got that through, but there you go. that's it. No, I haven't got anything else insured like that. Just me and the wife. Anyway, back to you, mate. G7EPE 20GR.
2E0OGR, G7EPE returning. Yeah, okay, Martin. Well, yeah, I would have kind of thought that would have warranted certainly getting put as an owned item on the household insurance. But yeah, again, I think probably if you've got radios that are worth over 1,000, it's certainly worth getting listed if you can. Which reminds me, I probably need to have a check of what I've got listed and make sure I've got everything, because I've had a few new changes in the shack here. Make sure what I've got is covered. But again, I think the other thing is if you're out and about and doing POTA, SOTA, whatever, and you're putting up even fiberglass poles and wires and things, maybe some public liability insurance, or some basic cover might be worthwhile. I'd be interested to see what Bill and Bob have got to say about this being in North America, because obviously there's a bit more of a suing culture over there. So anybody trips over one of your guy wires, you want to make sure you're covered. So that'll be interesting. But with that, let's go round to Bill and see what he's got to say about the subject. KF4 MCG G7EPE.
G7EPE, KF4 MCG. Well, I know of one guy in the club that has a flex radio with the amplifier and all the other equipment and stuff, and he has that listed as a rider on his insurance on his homeowners. But I don't know of anybody else that does that. Now, there used to be, I remember in QST, there was an insurance company that would advertise to ham radio operators, but I haven't seen a QST in a while, so I'm not sure who'd even be doing that anymore. So, back to you. G7EPE, KF4MCG.
KF4MCG, G7EPE. Okay, Bill. Well, that's interesting then. So obviously it's not a thing over there either. That guys are getting their specific insurance for, say, maybe POTA and SOTA or external operations. I guess you guys are like us, then it's down to the household contents insurance and the mobile insurance for the car. Or the mobiles will be covered under car insurance. Again, a lot of those car insurance policies state that if you've got, certainly, they don't say radio gear, they normally state for hi-fi equipment, don't they? If you've got anything aftermarket radios in your car, then you've got to state what's in there. In fact, any modification at all. So I guess even putting a go faster strike down the car could invalidate your warranty, your insurance, if you don't tell them about it. So I'm guessing you really ought to state if you've fitted a radio and then get it covered as well. So and an antenna obviously on the outside of the vehicle. Right, thank you very much, Bill, and thank you very much for taking your time out this afternoon to be with us. Terry, what have you got to say on the subject? G4ANW, G7EPE in the group.
Yeah, G7EPE in the group, G4ANW. Okay there, Dave. Well, like everyone else, I've always relied on the house insurance for the equipment when it's here at home. And likewise the car insurance for anything in the car. I don't suppose the gear in the car is not sort of permanently fitted in any way. It's difficult to say how that would go. But for portable gear, though, our insurance does cover portable gear. I mean, it's mainly aimed at mobile phones and computers and that sort of thing. But whether that would cover an expensive handheld, which I don't particularly have anyway, but it might do. But nothing's actually particularly named. So I guess really pretty well like everyone else there, Dave. I seem to think the RSGB used to offer, may not have been the RSGB, but some agency that the RSGB recommended, because I seem to remember when Ragcom came, there was always this slip inside the Ragcom that actually was offering some kind of amateur radio insurance. What that actually consisted of, I don't know, but it's something I certainly remember. I don't think they do it now, but certainly had seen it in the past. So there we are. Anyway, pretty well the same as everyone else today. G7 EPE in the group, G4ANW.
G4ANW, G7 EPE returning in the group. Yeah, okay, Terry. So you're in the same bucket as the rest of us then. I think, yeah, it's. I'm definitely going to. Now I've thought about it, I'm definitely going to review my household policy, make sure the kit's covered, and just go through what I've declared on the car insurance, and maybe state that I've got the FTM 400 in there, just to make sure they don't claim it's a modification if you do have a bump, and then could be something completely unrelated, couldn't it? Could be a tiny bump or something, and then they say, well, your insurance isn't valid because you've modified the vehicle, even though it's a radio you put in and nothing to do with the scratch on the bumper you've obtained. But yeah, I think it's probably something wise for all of us to have a quick look when the policy documents come round. Interestingly, I just had changed my Google search while you were chatting there, Terry, and I've actually come up with there is a American Radio Relay League insurance program, which is interesting. It's actually ARRLinsurance.com, so maybe it's just a name they've used. But anyway, they offer a huge amount of cover if you want it, up to $15 million. No, 15,000. Sorry, I apologise. Replacement cost for towers and antennas, and it's $1.40 per $100 of equipment covered. There you go. So, but I can't find anything in the UK. Can't see anything in the UK at all, which is interesting. There's some references. There's a few searches been done on a few articles, but they're all back about 2010, 2012. So nothing I can find that's concrete. Anyway, great to have you on, Terry. Thank you very much. Let's move round to Julian. M0XPJ G7 EPE.
G7 EPE in the group, M0XPJ. Well, yeah, like everyone else, I rely on the house insurance for all my kit, but actually probably time to reappraise it, especially with my sort of outside office. So yeah, timely reminder on that. Interesting one on insurance. We open our garden up every year for the Chelsea Open Gardens, and that's raising money for the Chelsea first responders here. And yeah, I've taken public liability insurance out for that. Not very expensive, but the organisers have taken that over now. Because we had about somewhere in the region of 300 people come through the gardens last year. So yeah, it's good to have some kind of insurance just in case anyone sort of trips and falls or anything like that. You never know these days, because there is a bit of a suing culture around, unfortunately. But yeah, that's all I've really got on the insurance. So yeah. Back to you, G7 EP in the group from M0XPJ.
M0XPJ G7 EPE. Yep, all copied, Julian, and I say super fine signal all the way from Selsey into the box, and we just let the old girl do a ride then. Okay, so you're in the same boat as well. Yeah, I think reappraising might be worthwhile. It's a bit of a dry subject, this one, I know, a little bit serious, not too much fun, but I think it'd be well worth it in the event that something did happen. Fire, flood, or theft, and you lost all your gear, and then to find out that you hadn't, just for the sake of listing it on a document, get the right cover, be worthwhile doing, definitely. And as you say, there is a little bit of a suing culture. I remember years ago, actually, when I was fortunate to live in California for a little while and go to school, they wouldn't let you wear shorts. Red hot summer, and I think, how old was I? About 10 years old. I wasn't allowed to wear shorts to school because they were worried about the parents suing them if you fell over and got bloody knees, scuffed your knees or something. So we had to wear long trousers, but. There you go. That was the culture back then. Should say a very good evening to John, who's said he'd never dream of taking a brand new expensive radio on the beach when it's not insured. Smiley face. I think we know what you've been doing, John. And Adrian, M0NOD, very good evening, mate. Trust you well. Right, okay. Thank you very much, Julian. Let's go round to Ian, G5KUE, G7EPE in the group.
G7EP from G5KUE. Yeah, insurance on the house. This was a subject close to my heart this year. My good lady has an electric bike, and we got that covered. So I did have a look into the insurance and made sure that my ham radio equipment was covered. And it is a few of the items were over 1,000, so they were named on the policy. Now, what I didn't know with household insurance, that if you underinsure your property, they come round, if you make a claim, and then they'll only give you a percentage of the claim that you've made. So say, for instance, you insured your house contents of 40,000, and they found that your contents was really 80,000, they'd only ever give you 50% of the claim. They're quite ruthless that way. So yes, I did an audit to the house, piece of paper for each room, wrote the items down, found that the fixtures and fittings in the kitchen weren't included, so I didn't have to add up the cost of putting a new kitchen. It's anything which is fixed, which is included in the other part of the insurance. The household insurance is totally separate. So yes, that's all covered. I did make sure that it was amateur radio orientated, and it was even to the extent that if a radio antenna mast came down, as long as it was by accident, it would be eligible to cover me for third parties there. Right, back to you then, Dave. G7EPE from G5KUE.
G5KUE, G7EPE returning in the group. And yeah, well, that surprised me, Ian, because you're the first person that's actually said you've actually checked and had a look at your insurance and it's covered. So, or you've taken steps to make sure it's all covered. So, hats off to you. And yeah, I think it's probably wise that we all probably take a quick gander at the documents if you can find them. It's normally buried in the filing cabinet somewhere, and pull them out and just see what is listed and whether anything over 500, 750, 1,000, whatever the limit is named, just to make sure you have got some cover on there. But yeah, I've just had another look, and I cannot find any real reference to any off-the-shelf cover that you can buy in the UK, which is very interesting. Right, Graham, obviously you're in France, so what's the situation down there? Foxtrot 4, Whiskey, Delta, Yankee, Golf 7, Echo, Papa Echo.
G7EPE, F4WDY. Yeah, I'm like everybody else, haven't thought about it. To be honest, I think the most important thing I'd do is probably hike around, see if I can find receipts. That's it. And just proof of purchase. But apart from that, maybe take us some photos. Might be worth doing. But yes, I'd better check my insurance, house insurance. But unless it's something really flashy, like a flex, where you're talking about up to 10k or something with all the bits, I think most amateur radio equipment is really, I don't think it looks flashy enough for the passing criminals to jump on. Whereas if they see an iPad or a PC or a phone, yeah. So, yep, but that's it. I haven't got anything. So I'll pass it back to you. G7EPE, this is F4WDY.
Foxtrot 4, Whiskey, Delta, Yankee, Golf 7, Echo, Papa Echo in the group. Yep, all copied, Graham. Yeah, I guess, well, it doesn't necessarily be the theft side of it. I guess, fire or flood or anything that can damage your radios, some man-made disaster or natural disaster, so not necessarily man-made, but anything really. I think if it came to pass that the stuff here at EP Towers wasn't all insured or I couldn't get claim on it, yeah, it's when you start going through, it's like anything in the house actually. When you do start going through the house, like as Ian did with a piece of paper in each room, and you start noting stuff down, you very quickly surprise yourself how much, if you had to replace it all new at your own expense, how much it would all cost. So probably a wise thing to do for most of us is just to take stock of what you've got and say, if I had to buy this again new, how much would it cost me? I think we'd probably all fall over a little bit, or at least sit down. You know, but yeah, okay, mate. And again, it seems that you're the same boat as everybody. Right, last on my list is Bob down there in Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. Bob, thank you again for coming in this afternoon. You're taking up your afternoon to join us, mate. It's always a pleasure. What's the insurance situation in Tennessee, I wonder? KO4 DXQ G7 EPE.
G7 EPE and the group KO4 DXQ. I keep on having stations dropping out for 5 seconds on Echolink here. I don't know what's going on. Did that, been doing that for the last 3 sessions on this frequency, on the Echolink node. And I was just also surprised that there was a 3.4 earthquake, 5 o'clock this morning in northern England. Was really surprised about that. And as far as insurance goes, I'm hoping that my homeowner's insurance will cover it. But there's a $500 deductible. So I know I have more than $500 worth of equipment here. And hopefully anything in the vehicle would be covered by comprehensive insurance. Also with a deductible, probably 500. So it wouldn't pay me much more money, I guess, stolen equipment in my vehicle. I did buy for Black Friday. I got my Yaesu FTM 510, and there was something on there for $10 to get a extended warranty for 10 years. I thought $10 was a great bargain, so hopefully maybe I might need it. So maybe it might come in handy. So I figured it was worth the $10 gamble. KO4 DXQ back to G7 EPE Internet.
KO4 DXQ G7 EP returning for the last time in the Thursday night net on GB3IW. Yeah, all copied, Bob. Okay, yeah, $10 for that extra additional warranty sounded like a bit of a bargain. So yeah, I'd have probably taken it out for $10. So good stuff. And interesting that it's exactly the same situation as here. Then we all expect our home and contents insurance to cover the radios at home and the vehicle insurance to cover the car radios. I was interested to see if you had anything additional, because I know you do a lot of POTA. So you're obviously out and about activating parks and things. So wondered if you had anything to cover that, but I guess that's covered by the car insurance. Right, okay. Apologies for the slightly dry subject. Hope it was slightly interesting and maybe a thought jogger. Maybe a few of you are going to take some action and just take stock of what you've got in the shack and in the car. But I think it was probably a worthwhile subject. It was just something that I thought about and thought, yeah, maybe it's something I need to look at. Although it's probably going to end up costing more money than the household insurance. Anyway, that is it for this evening, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join me. It's been a pleasure. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back again next Tuesday for the Bramble Net on GB3IW, and I think I'm in the chair for that one. And obviously next Thursday as well. And we're just taking stock of the dates over Christmas, so we'll be advising. Looks like the Thursday night net may take a fortnight break, because I think we've got some big days when the Thursday night net is due. But I think the Bramble might run right the way through the festive season. But we'll see how we go. So with that, I'm going to put the repeater back to normal operation. Again, thank you very much, and I wish everybody 7 threes and a very good night. This is G7 EPE now going QRT and QSYing to the Zoom call. Bye bye now.